the final thing we wanted to talk about, this is mostly pure politics. So if you don't want to talk about politics, or if you don't want to listen to us talk about politics, this might be a good time to wrap up. But we have to talk about Elon Musk's gesture that he made last week, the reaction to that, and basically where things are at in terms of, I suppose, the world's march to fascism.
I mean, I think this is about tech because these people are now not starting, they represent the technology community. It's not reflecting well on us. And so I think it's very much about understanding the culture that you're in and the people who are ostensibly representing it. Yeah, so he twice did a gesture on stage during the inauguration that looked vaguely like, or roughly like, the Nazi Heil Hitler salute. If you listen to the talk, he was talking about "my heart goes out to all of you," and then proceeded to touch his heart and throw it out into the crowd. And that might be a fig leaf cover for his gesture. It might be the media and commentators deliberately trying to misinterpret what he's doing. The problem for me was more so what followed after that, which is that he chose to not explain himself or clarify his meaning whatsoever. And this is a hallmark of Republican politics, and especially Trumpian politics from the beginning, which is you can't get canceled if you tell everyone to fuck off and basically just troll them back. And so, you don't admit you're wrong, you don't apologize, and you just stand your ground. In fact, you double down. Now, you could argue he's just doubling down because he don't give no fucks. Or you could argue he wants to be misunderstood, or he's been understood perfectly well, thank you very much, by the people he wanted to signal. I don't know, and I don't care. I just continue to find him extremely distasteful and disgusting, and I wish he would go away. Another data point along the journey.
It's been a very interesting kind of ink blot test for people. This gesture, right? Was it a Nazi salute? Wasn't it? Is it because he's autistic? All of this stuff. Now, was it a Nazi salute? I think is ultimately a fairly boring question. I think the reason it sort of has this resonance is because a lot of the things that Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all of his sort of cadre are doing are fascist. And so, I think talking about Nazis as such kind of muddies the waters because, okay, do they hate Jews or whatever? It's not the point. The point is, and, we've talked about this on the podcast before, if you cannot see the parallels between what's happening in the US at the moment and what was happening in Germany in the early 1930s, you are not paying attention. Now, I want to make it very clear because this is another thing that people get wrong. It's like nobody can predict the future. The future is unpredictable. So am I saying that we're going to end up with a situation like what happened with the Nazis in Germany? I have no idea. And guess what, listener? Neither do you. Nobody does. We're talking about the parallels of where things are at now. And I suppose we're at the sort of early 1930s. It's not the case that 1939 happened, World War II happened, and the Nazis emerged fully formed as these genocidal maniacs. No. In Germany and in Italy and in other countries in Europe, we had these fascist movements that slowly undermined existing institutions and centralized power in an authority with a personality cult. And over time, then co-opted the big corporations and the wealthiest people into this kind of self-serving regime. That's what happened. And that is what's happening in the US. Now, I hope to God, and I suspect that it won't end as badly, but that's not the point. One of the ways it doesn't end as badly is for everybody to be paying attention to what's happening and to try to resist it to a certain extent, right? And the reason this has resonance is not whether Elon Musk made a Nazi salute or not. It's because he's doing all of this other stuff, including just a couple of days after this controversy, addressing the conference of the Alternative für Deutschland, which is the current far-right party in Germany, and telling them that they need to kind of reclaim German values for Germany to be great again. And, is that a dog whistle or is that extreme carelessness? It's quite possibly extreme carelessness, but when you are that wealthy, when you have that much of a megaphone, when you are so close to government, that sort of extreme carelessness and sloppiness is just unforgivable. Same with the salute. So, if you don't want people to think you're a fascist, stop acting like a fascist, right? And stop doing things that make it seem like you are a fascist. And then the problem will go away.
I mean, isn't it enough that it's unclear?
Yeah.
Isn't it enough that we're in the ballpark that we have to ask? I mean, isn't that enough? Like,
Hmm.
why do we have to? This thing drives me crazy. Like, is it a genocide or is it not a genocide? Is it enough that it's like in the ballpark? Isn't it enough? Isn't it enough that it's vaguely like a Nazi salute? That it seems reasonable that it could have been a Nazi salute because of all of the other context? Why do we have to argue fucking semantics about like has it crossed some technical line into some boundary condition of somewhat? Isn't it just disgusting and dangerous that it is anywhere near that thing? Like, give me a break. And only these people want to argue the semantics and the hair splitting of whether it technically qualifies for a thing. If you have to argue why it technically doesn't qualify, then you're wrong. If you have to explain all of the reasons why it's not, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm so tired of the semantic games and the fig leaves and the dissembling and the obfuscation. It's just give me a break. Look, we're running out of time here. I want to say one last thing. I've had it said to me multiple times. Stop criticizing these people because they're in charge. It's time to pivot. I find that so distasteful. I'm imagining these oligarchs and wealthy people and insiders sipping wine and collecting art while the country and the world burns down. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that and compromise my values. I just implore everybody to just like, remember the cliched saying, the only thing necessary for evil men to succeed is for good people to do nothing. Don't go with the flow because there's $500 billion on the table for Stargate, or there's, millions of dollars of like, guys, grow a spine and stand up to the bullshit. Seriously.